Listen, bitch, I have a confession to make, and I'm going to make it here on the podcast in front of everyone because my audience on the podcast is a lot bigger than my socials. I did confess this on Facebook in full detail. If you follow me, you already saw the confession, so maybe it's not going to be a big ball drop, but that's what we do on the show. Radical fucking honesty, right? Tell the truth even when it's super embarrassing. And if you ask me um about a super embarrassing habit I have, I would have denied it forever. Okay. I would have trolled you for what you do, but I would have denied. But yeah, we share shit when it's embarrassing, especially when it's embarrassing, because the embarrassing truth is usually the one that connects the most. Okay. I have I feel so childish, you guys. I'm 46 and I'm about to say this right now. I have a game on my phone and I think I'm not going to tell you which one because honestly, the last thing I need is for you to download it and then blame me for your life falling apart. Like I blame my son. My son got me into this. It is, it is a full blown addiction, to be honest. Um, and that, this, it's one of those games, you guys, the kind that was clearly engineered by a team of behavioral psychologists who studied every addiction study ever published and then said, okay, now let's make it fun. And it's the kind that has a daily reward that resets at midnight. Okay, so my brain starts negotiating with itself at 11:47 p.m. about whether I have the time for one more round. Okay. And it's I get my reward and it's a minimum every day of 4 rounds to get the rewards. Okay. And so I'm like, I have to do this. It literally has no ending though, because then if I keep going, like there's other rewards and it does this on purpose because an ending means that I have to stop playing and stopping means I stop winning and then I'm not in the business of losing. You know, I know this. This is what I do. This is exactly what it is. It's what they've done, and they've done it to so many people. I have literally talked on the show about big tech's manipulation of the dopamine system on this podcast. I have explained in detail how these platforms are engineered to hijack your attention and monetize your compulsion. I wasn't just talking about the social media apps, it's all of it. I know you bitches are playing games on your phone too, okay? But I still open the app because knowing the trap doesn't automatically spring you out of it, right? And if you've ever known something was bad for you and you do it anyway, welcome to being a fucking human because I know like I know. And this is where I landed with it, okay? Because I am not ready. I'm just being honest here. I'm not the delete it cold turkey type. Not yet. Not with this. But I want to work up to that, okay? What I will not do is let it eat my actual life anymore. So the new rule for me, and I used to do this, so I know it's possible. And then somehow I just stopped. And in between every, podcast show, every coaching experience, everything I do, like I'm getting my dopamine hit on the phone, right? I've even been doom scrolling lately. So I realize, and I think part of it is, I went through this whole rewiring my brain to where I don't touch my phone in the mornings until I read the Bible. And then what happened is I kind of renegotiated, right? Because that's what happens with our brain. And I was like, wow, you've done this for so long, like you don't even have to think about it. So then I was just on my phone all day because I did so good, right? Like it didn't run my day. I do my workouts and I open the Bible first. Like that's my non-negotiable. Yay, you're so good. So let's reward yourself with a bunch of doom fucking scrolling to melt your brain and fuck up your adrenals and your system and everything else, right? All day. That's it. So I it's a slippery slope, you guys. But that for me right now, is to get back to that, to where I will only play the game on the treadmill again. Um, and that's it. That's the whole deal. The game lives on the treadmill. Like if I want the dopamine hit, I have to earn it with the cardio. If I want to get to the next level, I'm going to keep walking until I do. And suddenly, like now this addiction can fund my health goals for the moment. Okay. I wouldn't say that's necessarily weakness. I think a lot of people would probably laugh at me like you're really just going to play a game on your phone while you're on the treadmill. Yes. Yes, I am. And I'm just negotiating with my nervous system and my brain and that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay? Rest. because rest, like real rest, intentional rest, the kind that actually restores you, has become so foreign to us that we have replaced it with stimulation and then we call it relaxing. I think that every time I go out and check on my kids and, they're cuddled up in the big chair doing homework and I snuggle in between them with my phone, I think that's just giving myself a break from work because I'm just playing a game. That's not true. We forget what actually feels like to rest. And today I just want to remind you with this show, with full acknowledgement of how ridiculous it is that doing less has become a radical act of rebellion. Okay. And I was in this great book study. I found this team, these kids. I'm going to say kids because they're probably like half my age, but they are just like incredible forces of energy and power. And I'm just like, I have to get into everything they do, right? Like I just want to be close in proximity to their fire. This guy has worked out for like a million days in a row and never missed a day. And I'm like, wow, that's something that I want to train myself to believe I could do. So what am I going to do? Put myself in this situation. Anyway, getting off track here. I joined their book club today. They have a book club and it was amazing. Great conversation. Like they're just the real deal, right? And part of the chapter they were on for this book today was talking about rest. And one of the speakers, or what, the guy that runs the deal, the workout guy, the very disciplined guy, was like, I'm weary on this topic because I think a lot of people mistake rest for laziness, and I fucking agree. Wholeheartedly, 100% agree. There's a different kind of rest from your lazy and from the days your body needs it. Okay. And I think if you're listening to my show, you've already got a different level of discernment, so it doesn't fucking matter. But I guess I just had to do a disclaimer. Like, I'm not giving you an excuse to be lazy. Like, fuck that. But I am going to say rest matters. And for this rebellion season, this is the episode that the productivity industrial complex absolutely does not want you to hear. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this episode gets mysteriously buried in the podcast algorithm. Can they do that? I mean, that's why I have the podcast so that they can't censor me. I've been, what is that called? Blocked and hidden on Facebook, shadow banned. Shadow banned on I'm shadow banned everywhere, but I don't think they could really do that here. But just in case if they could, this would be the show, you know. Um they actively suppress content that threatens their engagement metrics. They do that. And how convenient would it be for them if nobody heard this particular episode? In fact, my rebellion season period. Um, but that's the thing they do. Definitely. And you didn't hear that from me. But anyway, rest. We're talking about rest today. And before you roll your eyes and think that this is the soft episode again, the one where we're gonna light a candle and we're gonna talk about bubble baths, okay? No. I need you to understand something. What we're talking about today is not spa culture. Okay? Not self care as a fucking aesthetic. It is not the Instagram version of wellness where you're going to be in a robe with cucumbers on your eyes and a face mask, okay, where everything is fucking beige and everyone is serene and nobody has a phone addiction and they're negotiating, you know, they're just not doing what I'm doing on the treadmill with that addiction. I'm talking about rest as a weapon. Rest is a direct, intentional, unapologetic refusal to participate in the system that will profit from your depletion. Rest as the thing that the corrupt ass government, the pharmaceutical machine, the food industry, and big tech all have a vested financial interest in keeping you from doing, because a rested person thinks clearly. A rested person makes good decisions. A rested person is very difficult to manipulate, very difficult to sell fear to, and very difficult to keep compliant. And all of those systems, bitch, they need you tired. They need you reactive. They need you reaching for the quick fix, the easy answer, the thing that makes the overwhelm stop for 20 minutes, even if it makes everything worse in the long run. If you guys are new here, I'm Brandon Lynette, podcast coach, and my message is your mess is your message. And my mess today, that fucking phone game and a treadmill and the ongoing, imperfect, deeply human work of building a life that actually includes rest. And if that's your mess too, you're in the right place. Okay. And if you already feel like this is going to be fire, share this fucking episode. Okay. Maybe you're not digging this, but I guarantee you know someone who is. So just like real quick, hit the little heart button, hit the subscribe button, and hit share. Just share it wherever the fuck you need to, wherever you're called to. If you're not called to share it anywhere, then share it everywhere. You have access to people I never will. And no sponsors today, okay? Um, although I am wearing my sticker, okay, the one that brings me peace and courage. But anyway, it's just us, just the conversation, just episode 23 of truth telling, that the radical countercultural system threatening act of actually stopping. Okay. Real rest. And real rest is going to cost you something and give you everything. Even God rested on the seventh day. And I know I touched on this a little bit last week, I believe, talking about burnout. But I really do want to go deeper here, because this detail, like the specific detail in the entire story of creation, is countercultural. That's what we're here for. Okay? It is one of the most countercultural things in all of scripture, and we have completely domesticated it into irrelevance. God rested on the seventh day. And do you think it was because he was tired? No. He's God. The God who spoke the universe into existence out of nothing does not get muscle fatigue. He does not need a little nappy nap. Okay? He's not going to hit the fucking wall at Thursday and start counting down to the weekend. So why did he rest? Why did he rest? Because he was modeling something. He was building the rhythm into the fabric of creation itself, not as a suggestion, not as like this really cute idea for people who have margin, but like a design specification. A load bearing wall in the architecture of human life. 6 on, 1 off, work and rest, output and recovery, fullness and emptying. That's the rhythm, and we have completely dismantled it. We took the Sabbath, which is a commandment, by the way, not the preference. It made the top 10 list of commandments, which is pretty fucking exclusive. And then we turned it into Sunday brunch and maybe a nap if we're lucky. We turned it into a day of genuine cessation. No work, no striving, no productivity, just being, into the day we catch up on. And I'm guilty of this. I tell you guys, Sunday should be your preparation day, or Saturday should be your prep day. Like, I've made a rest day into a prep day. One or the other. Okay? Like, you need the full day of rest. Then we're trying to catch up on everything we didn't finish during the week. I'm so toxic with this. I say every week, like, Sunday is family day. The Sabbath is Saturday. I do wholeheartedly believe that. Okay. However, my husband does work, and that's not really ideal for our family day. So my family day, my non-negotiable, is my rest day is Sunday, and I turn everything off. I don't want to be anything to anyone, but then I hear myself like, you better get up early before everybody wakes up and finish posting this or get that scheduled. You're 6 episodes behind or whatever that is. I do it. I do it. Sunday has become Monday's warm up, and then we wonder why we're depleted and we're starting the week already exhausted. Even Jesus observed the Sabbath. He also broke the religious rules around it constantly, healing people on the Sabbath, letting his disciples pick grain, infuriating the Pharisees who had turned a rest commandment into a performance competition, which is the most human thing imaginable, turning the commandment to rest into yet another way to strive. But his point was never that rest doesn't matter. His point was that the Sabbath was made for people, not people made for the Sabbath. It was made for you as a gift, like that built-in permission structure to stop. And we have been declining the gift for decades. And imagine your life is a field, right? It's a fertile, productive, genuinely remarkable field that is capable of growing extraordinary things. That's it. Just field of potential. And for years, lots of years, you've been farming it, planting, growing, harvesting, planting again, season after season after season. I grew up around potato farms, okay, in case you guys need to know, like, what the fuck is she talking about? I'm saying no follow period, no rest, just continuous production, because the market demands it and the bills don't care about the soil health, and stopping feels like falling behind. And the field, your field, has been producing. It's been doing its job. But if you know anything about farming, you know what happens to the soil that never rests. You guys, it depletes. The nutrients don't replenish. The yields start dropping, and the things that grow start looking less like what you planted and more like a really stressed, diminished version of it. And eventually, the field that was once extraordinarily productive starts producing almost nothing. Not because the soil is bad, not because the seed is bad, but because the field was never given the chance to recover everything it gave. You are the field. Your creativity, your energy, your presence, your life essence, your soul, your emotional availability, that spiritual clarity, your capacity to hear God and respond to calling and show up for the people who need you, all of that is soil. And soil that never rests does not stay fertile forever. It just doesn't. And you could Google that. Like, you could fact check me. It's not just a motivational metaphor. This is agriculture, and it applies to you with some inevitability. And I kind of want to talk about like why rest feels like a moral failing to so many people, because this is not an accident, and I want to be very clear about that. The Protestant work ethic, and I say this as someone who loves Jesus and respects the tradition, did something to Western culture's relationship with rest that we have really not fully recovered from. It took the genuinely good values of diligence and responsibility and stewardship and slowly over centuries, fused them with the idea that your value before God and man is determined by your productive output. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. God helps those who help themselves, which is actually in the Bible. And it's true, by the way, but we put it there through sheer cultural repetition until it felt like the complete scripture. The result is a culture of people who cannot sit still without feeling guilty about it. And everything's taken out of context and it's used as a manipulation for what you're fueled to believe. And capitalism gets a hold of it and turbocharges the whole thing because capitalism has a very specific need. It needs you to produce, it needs you to consume, right? Produce more than you need so the surplus can be extracted. Consume more than is good for you so the market stays hungry. And rest interrupts both of those things. A rested person produces from overflow, which is efficient and sustainable but doesn't maximize the extraction, okay? A rested person consumes from the genuine need and desire, not from the manic, I deserve this after the week I've had impulse spending that depleted people are very susceptible to. So the system, and I'm using the system very broadly here to mean the interconnected web of economic incentives, cultural manipulation and messaging, and the institutional structures that all benefit from your exhaustion. Yes, do I believe the world is being run by an elite, disgusting, select families that worship the devil and do vile things to kids? Yes, I think it's the devil's playground. And every day people get brainwashed to be a part of the system. And we've all become the useful idiots that continue to grease the wheels no matter what we do. The system has a vested interest in making rest feel irresponsible, in making stopping feel like quitting, in making the person who actually takes a day off feel like they're falling behind while the person grinding through their vacation feels like they're winning. Okay? This. Okay. The pharmaceutical industry generates billions of dollars annually from conditions that are directly caused or significantly worsened by chronic sleep deprivation and rest deficit, anxiety, depression, cardiovascular disease, immune dysfunction, metabolic disorders, cognitive decline. And the research isn't subtle. Sleep deprivation is one of the most damaging things you can do to a human body. And we have built a culture that makes it structurally difficult to get enough of it. And then, you know what they do? They sell you the medication for the symptoms. Smart, right? Smart. Meanwhile, the sleep aid market, The your melatonin gummies, I'm guilty. I used them for so long. The prescription sleep medications, the devices that track your sleep so you can feel bad about the quality of your rest you're not getting. That's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And they are selling you the solution to the problem that the rest of the system created. It's a full circle, a perfect, profitable, deeply evil circle. And the exit is free. It's called going to bed. Put your phone the fuck away. It's called saying no. It's called treating your rest like it's a non negotiable, which, according to God, who built rest into creation itself, it actually is. Okay. And I want to address that confusion because I think a lot of people have been confusing rest with things that are not rest, and then they wonder why they don't feel rested, especially if you have that neurospicy brain, um, like me. And you guys just neurospicy brains. I love you so much. The relationship with rest is really genuinely complicated in ways that neurotypical advice completely fails to address. Um, our brains don't have an off switch. Like a lot of neurotypical people have an off switch. Um, it has a volume dial though that gets it goes from loud to slightly less loud. Even in the quiet moments, there is activity, there are loops, there are half formed thoughts and random associations and sudden memory of something embarrassing you did in 2009 that your brain apparently decided to surface right now at 11 p.m. while you're trying to sleep. It's not a character flaw. It's not a discipline problem. Okay. That is the literal neurological reality of a brain that does not naturally downregulate the way a neurotypical brain does. Um, the default mode network, DMN, I talk about this a lot. Um, the brain network that activates during rest and mind wandering, it works differently in our brain than someone that's neurotypical. Um, it's it's more active in some ways and then like less integrated in others. And that means that the instruction to just relax lands like telling someone with a broken leg, like just go walk it off, bitch. Technically possible, not actually helpful. Okay. Um, and I feel like there's a little bit of cruelty with the neurospicy brain and the rest paradox. The more tired you are, the harder it is to rest because exhaustion in my brain, it presents as sleepiness, not as sleepiness. It presents as like dysregulation. I'm dysregulated. I'm overstimulated, overtired, so my brain gets louder, not quieter. My brain gets restless, my body gets restless, I get more impulsive, I'm more prone to reaching for the stimulation. Okay, the phone, the game, the TikTok rabbit hole, the 2 a.m. reorganization of a closet that did not even need to be reorganized. You're tired, you cannot rest, so you stimulate. Um, and that just delays the rest further, which makes you more tired, which makes the dysregulation worse. And then here's the cycle. What are you going to do? You're going to reach for more stimulation. The loop is vicious and it's real. And the advice to just put the phone down and go to sleep from someone whose brain naturally produces um, melatonin on a schedule is approximately as useful as a screen door on a submarine. I know. This brings me back to my phone game. Okay. The truth of why the game exists in my life is a stimulation that is just engaging enough to quiet the loop without being so demanding that it activates everything. It is the neurospicy version of my white noise. And I mean, I could shame myself, but what's the point? Okay. I'm not going to shame myself. Here we are. And I do genuinely love the game. Like it's fun. It's challenging, in its own way. I whatever. But I'm also not going to pretend that playing my phone until midnight is rest. It is stimulation. And stimulation and rest, you guys, are not the same thing. And they feel similar to a depleted nervous system because both of them make the uncomfortable feeling stop temporarily. But one of them restores you, and one of them is going to extract more from a tank that's already close to empty. So the treadmill rule. I get the game on the treadmill. My nervous system gets a hit. My body gets extra movement. And the hours after 10 p.m. get protected for that actual rest. While it's not a perfect system, it's a negotiated one. And for my neurospicy brain, negotiated is like the best available option. And negotiated today is enough. Okay. And the rest challenge is different but equally real for everyone with a different brain, right? If you have sensory processing differences, that mean that environments which are supposed to be restful, like you and I may think family gatherings and social events, even quiet events at home with the TV on and someone talking and the dog doing the thing, you think those are neurologically expensive. You arrive at the end of a restful evening more depleted than you started because your nervous system was working the entire time. Some people are like processing, just processing the input, managing responses and staying regulated in a world that all the volume is too loud everywhere. And then someone asks you why you need alone time. And I think we all need alone time. Let's set the boundary. Like alone time is okay. It's not optional, it is maintenance. And that's the thing that's going to keep your system running. It is as non negotiable as charging your phone. Some people get that and that's amazing, like understand that every social event I've ever had to go to, or even after family events, and I love my family, I'm happy for some quiet time to recharge. It's not something you have to explain. you know your version of rest doesn't have to really look like anyone else's version of rest. Rest is not inherently quiet. Rest is not inherently still. Rest is whatever returns energy to your specific nervous system. And it's going to be different for everyone. And I'm trying to speak to that. I hope I have all you guys covered, honestly. Um, Maybe for some people that is a nap. And for some people that is a walk without headphones. For some people, it's a very specific video game played for exactly 45 minutes with a hard stop. Mine is actually 60 minutes. For some people, it is cooking something complicated because that focus requires, the shut off, for the other loops. Some people, it's worship music at volume 10. Okay. I heard about binaural beats today. Maybe that's your thing. Whatever fills your tank as opposed to whatever drains it slowly while looking like it shouldn't. That is your rest. And all I'm saying is that you have to own that without apology, whatever that looks like for you. Okay. You're not responsible for how other people take your boundaries. So fuck that. Do what you need to do. This shows up in shit like, you guys, the vacation that doesn't actually restore you. You went somewhere, you took the photos, you technically left the office, but you checked email every morning before anyone else would wake up. You took the work call on Wednesday because it was important. You spent half the trip managing something remotely and half the trip feeling guilty about the things you weren't managing. And you come home needing another vacation from your vacation. That is not rest. That's relocation of the same nervous system to a different backdrop. Okay. This shows up in the weekend that gets consumed before it starts. You have been looking forward to Saturday all week. Saturday arrives. By noon, you've done 3 loads of laundry, um, replied to 17 messages. This is such my day. Run 2 errands, had a conversation that needed to happen but drained you. Looked at your phone 97 times, eaten something nutritionally questionable while standing over the sink because sitting down felt like a luxury. And now it is 2:30 p.m. and you're already behind on the afternoon. The weekend did not restore you. The weekend was just a weekday with different logistics. It shows up in the scrolling that you do instead of sleeping. And I want to be honest about this area because it is extremely me, and I suspect it is extremely you too. You are tired. You know you're tired. Your eyes are doing the thing. They are technically open, but barely. And instead of putting the phone down and going to sleep, which would be the single most effective health intervention available to you at this moment, completely fucking free, no prescription required, more powerful than any supplement in the market, you scroll for one more minute, which becomes 20. Okay, which becomes you watching a video about a topic you have no interest in at 1:17 a.m. and you're like, how the fuck did I get here? Why, bitch? Why do we do this? Because going to sleep requires surrendering the last bit of time that is ours. The kids are asleep, the work is done, the demands have quieted for the night. And this, right now, in the glow of the phone, is the first moment all day that nobody needed anything from you. And your brain, which has been in service mode since it woke up, is not ready to give that up. So it stays in the one space when it feels like it has some freedom, even if that space is destroying the sleep that would actually make tomorrow better. And the irony is brutal. We steal from our rest to take a few minutes of peace, and the theft makes us so depleted that tomorrow we have even less peace to look forward to. We are borrowing from a tank that is already overdrawn and somehow surprised when the account collapses. You understand? You keep borrowing from tomorrow every time you're sacrificing your rest for bullshit. It's going to show up in your creative work that just dried up. If you are someone who creates like content, art, writing, coaching, music, anything that requires genuine originality, you have probably noticed that the well goes dry when you never stop drawing from it. Creativity is not generated by effort, it is generated by rest, by wondering, by the infrastructured time when your brain is not focused on anything in particular and the subconscious starts making connections the conscious mind was too busy to see. The best ideas do not come at your desk. They come in the shower, on the walk, in the half awake, state before you're fully up, in the space between tasks when you didn't fill a gap immediately with the podcast or a scroll. Every time you fill that gap, you forfeit the idea that was trying to form in it. And I want you to think about that. The thing that would have solved the problem, written the episode, made the connection, it was forming in silence and you podcasted over it. Um, and I want to be I want to be clear about something that I think really does get lost in the wellness conversation, and I've been having those conversations for a decade. Rest is not self-indulgence. Rest is resistance. A population that cannot rest is a population that can't think, it cannot plan, it cannot organize, it cannot question, cannot build anything that lasts. And every single system we have named this season, the corrupt government, the corrupt the captured regulatory agencies, the corrupt food agency, um, that engineers addiction, the pharmaceutical machine that profits from your symptoms, that the technology platforms that are harvesting your attention, every single one of them operates more efficiently on a tired population. And think about it. Bitch, when you're exhausted, you are reactive. You do not have the bandwidth for nuance. You take the shortcut. You accept the easy answer. You do not have the energy to read the label, to question the narrative, research the alternative, or do the thing that would actually serve you long term, because long term thinking requires cognitive resources that exhaustion depletes first. When you are exhausted, you are susceptible to fear, to outrage, to the news cycle that needs your emotional engagement to survive, to the ad that promises to fix the problem the product created, to, the politician who tells you the simple story about the complicated problem, because your brain cannot hold complexity right now. It needs the villain and the hero and the resolution, and someone who studies you for a living knows exactly how to give you that. When you are exhausted, you consume. You spend money on things you do not need because the purchase produces a feeling that you're too tired to create any other way. You eat bullshit food, food that is engineered to satisfy the craving that depleted your body, and your depleted body produces. You watch the content that requires nothing of you, because requiring nothing is all you have left to give. And every single one of those behaviors funds a system that profits from keeping you exactly this tired. And we don't even have to agree politically. This is for absolutely everybody in in the world. Ideally, your government doesn't give a fuck about you. I don't care, who the president is. You know, they don't care about you. A rested person is expensive to manipulate. Rested people have the clarity to see the game, the energy to choose differently. Rested people did not comply when they tried the COVID bullshit, okay? Rested people didn't get a vaccine because we felt that manipulation or pull. We rebelled against things that ideally have mass casualties and devastation. Rested people have the patience to read the fine print and to question the headline. Both sides are going to gaslight you, both sides are going to lie. Nobody's talking about real policies anymore. It's about people, right? Real policies, that's what fucking matters. Okay? That's what matters. A rested person cannot be rushed into a bad decision, cannot be fear mongered into compliance, cannot be distracted from their actual life by the manufactured urgency of a news cycle that, you guys, they will generate a new crisis by morning regardless of how this one resolves. And that's why rest is rebellion. Not because it's fucking lazy. This is your armor. And Jesus is not just, you know, the bonus point at the end. He's woven through all of this because he's always been there. He rested. This is not talked about enough. The Son of God, the one with the greatest calling in human history, the one with the most urgent mission, the one who literally had the salvation of the world on the agenda, took naps. He got away from the crowds. He withdrew to lonely places to pray, fell asleep in the back of a boat during a storm so complete that the disciples had to wake him up because they thought they were dying. He's that rested. And he also said no constantly as a one word answer. There were more sick people he didn't heal than sick people he did. There were crowds he walked away from. There were demands he didn't meet. And it's not because he didn't care, because he was living from a centered, unhurried, deeply rested place that he knew the difference between what he was actually called to in a given moment and what people wanted from him. He had the clarity to choose the calling over the demand every single time. You will not have that clarity on 4 hours of sleep and a phone game until 1 a.m. And I say that with love and full personal accountability. So, first, and I cannot believe this is a radical suggestion in the year that we're currently living in, go to bed. Like, not eventually, not after one more thing, at an actual time that you decide in advance. Put it in your calendar with the same seriousness you put a meeting in your calendar, because your sleep is a meeting with your nervous system, your immune system, your cognitive function, and God. It is the most important meeting of your day. And if you keep canceling it for things that, could absolutely wait until morning, it's going to cost you. And I want you to try this for 7 days. Just pick a bedtime. We're doing it together, okay? One that you would get 7 or 8 hours, of sleep before you need to be up, and set an alarm, not a wake up alarm, a go to bed alarm. When it goes off, you start the process. Phone down, lights dim, wind down begins. And I want you to do it for 7 days and then tell me that your life hasn't changed. I dare you. Second, I want you to identify your actual rest, not the rest you think you should want, not the rest that looks good on a wellness blog, the specific things that actually return energy to your specific nervous system, and write them down. Make a list of 5 things that genuinely restore you. And be honest, if a walk without headphones does it, write that. If 20 minutes of a mindless game on a treadmill does it, write that. If sitting in a hot car in a parking lot for 10 minutes between obligations with absolutely nothing playing does it, which it does for a lot of neurospicy people and is a deeply underrated form of transition rest, okay? Write that down. Then protect those things with the same energy you protect your work commitments, because they are work. They are the maintenance that makes the work possible. For my neurospicy brains, specifically, build a shutdown ritual, okay? A sequence of 3 to 5 things you do in the same order every single evening that will signal to your nervous system that the day is closing. Not a rigid routine that you fall, and then abandon. I say a flexible sequence that is yours. Maybe it's a specific tea. That's exactly what I do, my cup of tea. Maybe it's a playlist, a few minutes of stretching, a short prayer, putting the phone on the charger across the room. Whatever it is, the repetition is the point. Your brain learns that this sequence means safety, means rest is coming, means you can start letting go of the day. And over time, and it does take time, please be patient. The ritual really becomes the on ramp to the rest that your nervous system could not possibly find on its own. And fourth, the game. Since we're being honest about it here, if you have a version of my phone game in your life, the thing that is not quite rest and not quite work and not quite bad enough to eliminate, but definitely present enough to cost you something, make a deal with it instead of going to war. Okay. Wars with your own habits rarely work, negotiations sometimes do. Um, Find the container that lets you have the thing without the thing having you. Treadmill only. First, read the Bible only. Saturday mornings only. Whatever the boundary is, make it specific, make it non-negotiable. Um, make it a trade. The thing you want for the behavior that serves you. Your nervous system is not your enemy. It's just very good at short-term solutions and very bad at long-term consequences. Give it the short term inside a long-term structure, okay? That that's being realistic and being human at the same time, because you have a real brain in a world that is genuinely trying to hack the fuck out of it, okay? That's all. Um yeah, this this is the show that could kind of save your life, and not in a big dramatic way, not all at once, but just there's a quiet accumulation of nights where you actually sleep, and mornings where you actually wake up, and days where you actually show up with something in the tank instead of running on fumes and everyone's caffeine addiction. And then, that spiritual equivalent of a car making a sound it definitely shouldn't be making, you guys. Rest is not the enemy of your calling. Rest is what makes you capable of answering it. The system wants you tired. Your body needs you rested. And God, the one who built the Sabbath into creation, who modeled rest from day one, who sent his son to sleep in boats and withdraw to mountains and say no to crowds, God is not waiting for you to earn the rest. He built that in the program. Take it. I'm still working on this. And I would like to say I do have one of those watches, but it's not to gaslight myself. It is, I get a sleep score, and I genuinely am excited because for the past 6 weeks minus a day or two, I've had a completely high sleep score, which means I'm hitting, my deep sleeps, my REMs, and I'm on the marker for all of that, and that's been incredible. And it's only going to improve. I imagine a perfect score if I put that damn phone on. So, you guys, I'm with you. I'm with you on this. The treadmill rule is holding. The 1 a.m. scroll sessions are getting shorter. The game is going to be contained. And every day I choose the rest over the grind is a day I have more to give to the people that I'm loving and the people that I'm serving and the calling that I'm building and the rebellion that is still very much in progress. Your mess is your message. My mess today is a phone game and a negotiated bedtime and the ongoing impact, fully human work of treating my life like it fucking matters. Okay. If you feel this episode, and I'm sure you did, make sure you have liked the show, subscribed, leave the written review. Um, it's the most least restful thing I will ask you to do today. Okay. Also one of the more helpful. Head to brandonlynette.com, get on the list, watch the full episodes on YouTube. And if you're ready to stop, running on the hamster wheel of emptiness and start building the podcast that carries your actual voice, your rested, restored, fully alive voice, check the show notes to work with me. Tell me your story. Come on my new show. Tell me why you're the one that needs to be heard. Tell me what makes you special. I genuinely want to know. But for now, bitch, okay, put the phone down. Not yet. Share the episode first and leave the review and then put the phone down. Love you guys.